I'm at a sociolinguistics conference, AAAVE, with Christian Ilbury, who just gave a presentation about African American English versus Gen Z slang. And I want to ask you, because I get this question a lot, like, what do you think is the difference between AAVE and Gen Z slang?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people just assume that Gen Z slang is AAVE, right? We often see this framing that just like anything that belongs to AAVE is Gen Z slang or language, which I try to problematize in that talk. And I think actually what we're seeing is like, you know, the way that young people speak, yeah, it has some features of African American vernacular English in, but you also have features that are from like popular culture, like brat summer, stuff like that. So when people talk about Gen Z slang or language, I think we really need to think about what they're actually talking about, what are they referring to, and if it is just African American vernacular English, then just call it African American vernacular English.
And I really like the point that you made. Like, a lot of people are always anxious, like, oh, am I allowed to say this? Like, is it appropriation from AAVE? Like, what do you think? Like, especially with lexical items. So people are not worried about like using the grammar wrong or the sounds wrong. It's always these like words. So like, they're like, oh, can I say period or slay or something like that? Like, what do you think about that?
So I think it's really complex, and like you can hear, like as a British person, like these words are used in the UK, right? And people don't have an awareness of where they've come from, and like, so I think we can describe the system by which they got there as appropriation, but I think like an individual using these words is far more complex, because lexis is above the level of social awareness, right, in a way that like maybe phonology or morphosyntax is maybe more difficult to acquire, so you probably need habitual interaction with the speech community. But lexis is everywhere, right? Like you can see it in queer culture, you can see it in ball culture, you can see it in drag, so it's perhaps unsurprising that it has become as widespread as it has.
Yeah, words just spread like wildfire and they come and go. And this is the idea about like, what's the language versus what is slang? Well, slang's part of the language, but the time course of things is always what strikes me. Like, cool, the word cool comes from African American English in the 1920s, and no white person in America is like anxious about using cool, right? So there has to be some space for language to change and spread without it being sort of problematized, like you stole that word. The problem with me, like for me with appropriation, is always, did you take something and not give people credit?
Exactly
is there money on the line? Are you making a mockery, right?
Exactly
but just because you said the word slay because somebody gave a great performance doesn't make you like a terrible appropriative human.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think the main issue is when these words are called TikTok language or Gen Z language without recognizing that they have a much longer history within the speech community that has experienced discrimination for just using that language.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Christian. I want to talk about this with him all day. So, hi, TikTokers.